Hi everyone, thank you so much for all your likes and comments on the Facebook Dollhouse page. What a fantastic site. Like I said in my description, first time I've ever made any grapes. This is my first attempt. I got so many questions regarding what clay was used and how I made them. So I promised a tutorial, so I hope you enjoy. Okay, so the next thing we'll talk about is the clay I used. So I've always used Fimo. So this is Fimo Effect. I know there was a few comments saying that they'd not heard of the translucent Fimo before. So it just comes in a standard packet like this. And on the back it says the translucent white in 014. I know it comes in other colours, but I just find that white you can mix it in with any other colour that you've created. And as well as your meats and things. The other colour that I used was just the standard green, which is just in the soft Fimo. This is colour 50 in apple green. If you haven't got any green and you want to mix up your other colour, which would be your blue and your yellow to make your green, mix it slightly darker than the colour you actually want, because as much as this translucent, it still, when you mix it, it still makes it very light and you need a lot of it. So you don't want to be mixing up your two colours to make your green, thinking it's a perfect colour, and then you mix this in it and it'll go more of a minty green. And also you don't have to make up a lot of it, because the translucent, you need a lot more of that to a small amount of your green, which you'll see in the next step. Right, I've just taken these out packets. I've already got a couple of these packets already open. So this is your green and this is your translucent. So it's a rough idea, to be fair. I mean, I would take probably that sort of size. And then with your translucent, you need a good, that sort of comparison. Just as a rough guide, you can always add a bit more. I did find when I did a practice piece, I'd mixed far too much colour in with the translucent, so when I baked them, there wasn't really clear. So just mix these together. And you'll find it starts, you see the difference in colour just by adding that. It goes a lot lighter. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start cutting them into little balls. So I only bought this little knife yesterday. I don't even know what it's going to be like. You could use anything if you haven't really got a craft knife as such. I think before I was using like a little scalpel, which is very similar to this. So, okay, so what we'll do is, again, you don't have to be completely perfect with them. So what I tend to do, I mean, you can roll them on the table, but what I found easier was to roll them in a ball in the palm and then just go up and down slightly, just so you get that oval effect. And then put that to the side. And then your next one. Again, I'm not going to measure it because, you know, it's just a rough idea. And again, roll it in the palm. Slightly roll up and down to make the oval. And you keep doing that. I mean, you can do a couple of practice pieces if you wanted to. You know, just make 10, 15, bake them. Make sure you're happy with them because you've got plenty of clay to come back to. So you just carry on making them. Okay, so once you've done all your little balls, you can just go round if you want to. If there's some that have just gone a slight funny shape after putting them on there, and just have a check. Like this one here, that looks a little bit too big than the others. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Okay, so now it's time to bake. So I always put mine on a ceramic plate. You can put them on any sort of tray that you would normally bake with, maybe a ceramic tile. I just find they're easier because the ceramic also gives them a little shine, as well as doesn't stick to anything. On the packet, it does say to bake it at 110 Celsius, which is 230 Fahrenheit, which is about gas mark quarter, I think it works out. I did a couple of test runs on the really smaller pieces, and I found gas mark 2 I tend to cook these on, and with them being so small. Okay, so while they're cooking, also just to say to put them further down your oven, not too far up, because they will burn. If you do find a lot of things burn that you try and create, a little tip that I saw on another tutorial was just to make a tin foil covering, so when you bake it, it just stops the top burning. So anyway, I found these in the garden. They're just like really, really thin twigs. You can make the stalk from Fimo if you wish, which would just be rolling it out in brown and then making some smaller snakes to create the stalk. But I do find these sort of things, once you've coated them in glue, they tend to be a lot stronger. So you know, you could cut them in half and then glue your things like that, or like I have, find one that's already got the ends on where the flower's actually fallen off, and I just glued 2 together, which is here. So I just took 2 pieces, super glued, and I've kept that stalk long for now. It's just easier to hold when you're gluing on your grapes, and just coated it all in super glue, which is just a standard glue that I used. I think you can use any sort of craft glue, it obviously depending on how long it takes to dry, but it just hardens it, it just gives it that extra strength. Okay, so they should all be baked now. You will find that they've gone lighter than when you first put them in the oven. That's the sort of look that we need for these little grapes. So we're going to get a stalk, what we made beforehand. I find it easier to glue them in bunches rather than gluing them on separate. Leave the odd one to glue on at the end just to fill out, you know, your back and your front. But however easy you find it to glue them on, because they are sometimes, you know, they can be quite fiddly. So next is what glue to use. I did try and use the super glue a couple of attempts when I originally made my first ones. The super glue takes a long time to dry. I found it stuck to all my fingers. I couldn't quite grip them on the branches. They were rolling all over. So I had another look in my craft box and found that I had some of this very sticky glue, which is just like hobby glue. I'm guessing you could use any sort of PVA base glue that dries clear. It dries pretty fast. I've started to bunch a couple up. I'll do some on the camera as well. So I've just sort of, that's only took a couple of minutes to dry. Just bunch them in 3s. You can bunch them in 4. So how I did it is I was put a bit of glue. Again, you can put that on the plate, or if you prefer with the cocktail stick, just dip your cocktail stick into the glue. You can use tweezers or whatever you find easiest. So first of all, I would dip in the glue, pick up one of the grapes. I use the palm or my fingers, or you can put it on the plate, whatever you find easiest. So that's your first one. Pick up another one. Put that close together. They are very, very fiddly. And your third one. And you're just building it up, just in bunches. It doesn't matter where it falls, whether it goes flat or sticks up. So just make a few bunches, have a little practice. 3s, 4s. So the next step is to get your stalk that you made earlier. Oops, it's just stuck to my finger. These little bunches should be dry now. You should have left just a couple just in case you need to fill them in. So what we're going to do now is start adding them to the branches. So again, you'll find your own way of doing it. I found it easier to pop the glue onto the stalk. Start at the bottom, start at the top, whatever you prefer. And then pick up your bunch and just lay that onto the glue. Like this. So then take your next. Pick up some more. So just keep building up your stalk. Whatever shape you want, like if you've got the gap there, you could always just squeeze that just so they clump together like that, and then build up from the bottom. Just let that top layer of glue dry first, and start on your other stalk while that one's drying. Place them wherever you want. You can go down the branches, you can just have it so it looks like some have already been eaten. You could always leave some out as well, so if you were to put them in the fruit bowl, you could have a couple of grapes just sort of laid out on the table. And you're just building it up. So I've just been building them up, waiting for them to dry. And then if you've sort of like flip them over and just start building on the other side as well. So you start getting the shape. When it gets that tacky feeling on it, you can just squeeze them slightly just to bend them into shape without, destroying everything that you've done. I've only got a couple left. I didn't bake that many. I know I should have baked a few more. So hopefully, you should be got the hang of them by now to glue them on, because they are really fiddly. Like I say, just have a play about with them. I mean, when you glue them on, you might find that some of them look a bit flat. So again, once they've got a bit tacky, you can sort of more or less push them into place. And then when you're happy with them, sit them and let them dry. I haven't made enough grapes for the side of mine, which I should have done really, but it's just sort of an example of how you build it up. And then once it's dry, just cut off your stalk. You can add a little bit of acrylic paint at the top if you want to. Hopefully you'll have something that looks very similar to this. I really hope you've enjoyed my first video. I'd love to see how yours turned out. I did also post some jellies as well, which, depending on what response I get, whether this video is any good to anybody, show you how to make some little gummies, which are these, which is with your liquid Fimo, and your little pick and mix sweets, which is your little teeth, your sour belts. And again, these were really simple to make. So hopefully you enjoyed my video, and I'll wait for your pictures.